cases. The EFF will also use the opportunity to ask about the police case number 167/08/2012 and 168/08/2012, which were opened against the police who killed mine workers in Marikana in 2012 by the workers. The EFF will leave no stone unturned in ensuring that all who conspire to kill mine workers are brought to book, and will even consider options of private prosecution if the NDPP political appointments refuse to pursue the cases we are going to open. Politically, the EFF will use all its available platforms to expose the murderous regime of the ANC, will mobilize, educate, and agitate the whole of South African society and the world to see the hypocrisy of the ANC government. We will fight with everything in our power to expose the callous, oppressive, repressive, murderous nature of the sitting government. We do all this because we want to protect the constitutional right of mine workers to protest. We also do all this because we want to nip in the bud the entitlement of politicians to kill their own citizens and justify such through whitewash commission reports. The callous, premeditated murder and massacres of workers should never be let to go through without anyone being held responsible. The EFF will fight in all platforms to hold the murderers and conspirators of murder accountable in totality. We'll never stop until justice is realized. I thank you.
Thank you very much, President. So let's attempt the first round of questions. We'll probably go 3 times. And I wish to remind you that you don't have to stick necessarily to the Marikana Commission report. So let's take the first round of hands for questions. Let's take the first round of questions.
The commission.
1, 2, 3. So it's 1, 2, 3 in that order. Please remember your name and also indicate who you are.
My name is Jan de Lange. I work for Beeld and Rapport newspapers. Can I ask you whether you feel that the report has tainted the independence of the judiciary in South Africa? And secondly, off the Marikana report, what is your wish? What is your opinion on the forthcoming Special National Congress of COSATU? What do you think is going to be the come out, the takeaways there? Thank you.
All right. Olim Gambi from ENCA. Just 2 brief questions. The first one is, do you think that the targeting of Cyril Ramaphosa, as you clearly have mentioned him several times in this statement, that his targeting was a bad political strategy on your part and others, of course, that are representing workers in this? Because I think the feeling was that the commission would never have found him guilty in the first place. And the second to that question is, did your own personal political vendetta against him play a part in this? He's the man that expelled you from the ANC. So did that play any part in you pursuing him relentlessly? Thanks.
I'm Ranjini Mansami from Daily Maverick. Firstly, Judge Farlam recommended that there should be another inquiry by the National Director of Public Prosecutions to determine whether there are, in fact, criminal charges to be pursued. Are you not jumping the gun by laying your own charges? Are you not supposed to wait for that process? Do you not trust that process to unfold? Secondly, how are you going to deal with this matter in Parliament? Is this going to be a second pay back the money? Is there going to be another chance, more demonstrations? How are you going to now interact with people like Deputy President Ramaphosa and Minister Mthethwa in Parliament? Thank you.
Well, we think that Judge Falam did what he was asked to do, and ordinarily commissions by their own nature operate within a limited space because of the terms of reference, and they do not have much power to go into a thorough, deeper investigation and unearth what actually is not presented before them. And we actually want to thank him for having availed himself and to have kick-started this process. For sure, he also knows that that was not the end, but the beginning of getting into the bottom of what really occurred. And we think that he gave an independent view. We do not agree with it. We think that his findings were limited, and we think that he could have done even much, much more. But that doesn't suggest that he's actually being manipulated by anyone. Judges make mistakes, and that's why there is in our law the recourse to review the commission's report, which is a good thing. And in the judicial process, there's what we call appeals. If you're not happy with the judgment of lower courts, and we've seen higher courts, reversing the decisions of the earlier, courts or lower courts, as it were. So our judiciary is intact. Our judiciary is refusing a temptation to enter into a political space, and appreciates the fact that there are three legs of the state, and therefore it must not assume the responsibilities of the other two legs of the state. There is, however, a huge attempt by the ruling party to manipulate the judiciary. There is a strong intention by the ruling party to infiltrate the judiciary and render it dysfunctional. In the same way they've rendered the legislature dysfunctional, in the same way they've rendered the executive dysfunctional. And we're happy that our judges are resisting that bad intention of the ruling party to hijack the judiciary and use it to settle political scores and to run a political program. We have very little to say about COSATU, because I think that their special Congress will be their memorial service. So it will serve as an official memorial service of COSATU, and the normal conference, which is to come in less than a year's time, will then serve as an official funeral. So I think that is their preparation towards a bearing of COSATU. There is no longer such a union as COSATU. It has been swallowed by the ruling party. Its leadership serves in the National Executive Committee of the ANC, and some of its former leaders, in the form of a former president of NUM and president of NEHAWU, are now in parliament. So that was, the beginning of this process of a natural death taking place. There is no targeting of Ramaphosa because we are not in the commission, and we are not even asked to give evidence in the commission. So you can arrive at that conclusion and say that the commission wouldn't find anything credible to use against anybody else because you channeled all your efforts on Ramaphosa and left other important evidence which you could have presented before the commission. We're not there. So even if we had targeted Ramaphosa, we didn't in any way undermine our case because we never presented any case. There were different parties represented in the commission, and all of them represented their clients to the best of their abilities. And we think that even those who represented workers did very well. The reason why we open a case against Ramaphosa is because it is only through criminal investigation that a proper and thorough investigation, which is thorough and to detail, can be conducted. For instance, if Ramaphosa is charged through a Criminal Procedure Act, they can equally use Section 205 to get more information through his cell phone conversations around that period. Because we're only speaking about people who confessed on their own about the description and the request Ramaphosa made. But the reality of the situation is that if we're to ask for Ramaphosa's information, is 205, right? The one they used to get EFF information. So if we get 205, the investigating officers can get Ramaphosa's telephone records. The investigating officers can get Ramaphosa's emails of during that period. We are going to unearth worse than what we had in the commission. Remember, what has been had in the commission was found coincidentally. It was not availed voluntarily. Dali and them had to say there are emails here, and all of you then jumped and said, emails, discovery of emails. Imagine if Ramaphosa's emails of that period were to be investigated, his telephone conversations were to be asked through a judge from a service provider, and his SMSs were to be asked from his service provider, will get worse. So this prima facie tells you there is a worst story to be told from Ramaphosa's side. Only police, not a commission of inquiry, only police can unearth that information. So I think, and we are more than convinced, that there is the most dangerous information hidden in Ramaphosa's electronics. Phones, iPads if he's got one, computer, laptops, all that information if it was to be collected. I can tell you, just look at what we get, emails we get through not so thorough investigation, where Ramaphosa says this is a criminal activity. You could have said worse things. If we're to do the same with the cell phones of the Minister of Police, if we're to do the same thing with Mbombo and Pierre. Remember, we are relying on the tapes which were made available, the recordings which were made available. If police, independence policing, was to go deep into what has not come forth in the commission, there will be worse. Worse. In the recordings, people are talking politics. Police are talking politics. We must undermine nationalization. We must undermine Malema's takeover. Remember the disciplinary committee. Police are in a deep political conversation in taking a decision.